Okay, so for these problems, we are going to have to apply lots of things that we have learned all at the same time. So first of all, we need to recognize that they're asking us, or they're telling us that line AE is represented by that equation. We need to determine the equation in slope-intercept form of the line SW, and so we do have point S there, but we don't have W, that is parallel to AE and passes through the point S, which is 10, 11. So the wording on this is a little bit weird. Basically what we need to do is find the equation of a line that is parallel to AE that passes through a certain point. So one thing that we need to understand about lines that are parallel is that their slopes are exactly the same. So the slope here is going to be 1 over 1. So we know that the slope of our line over there is going to be 1 over 1 because we want a line that is parallel. Now the second thing that we need is to figure out at what point this passes through. And so we don't know what the y-intercept is, and so we're just going to choose any old point on the line. We know that the line contains the point 10, 11, which is marked by point S right there. And it's in the words up here at the top. So we have a point and we have a slope. The way that we got the slope was knowing that we wanted a line that is parallel, so its slope will be exactly the same. So y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. There's x1, there's y1. So y minus 11 is equal to 1 over 1 times x minus x1, which is 10. So y minus 11 is equal to 1 over 1x minus, might as well just leave it as 10. Because 10 times 1 is 10. We would add 11 to both sides. And we would end up with the equation y equals 1 over 1x plus 1. So we are asked to graph this thing. Actually, we're not asked to graph it, I'm going to graph it anyway. So this graph would look something like this. Its y-intercept is 1, and it would follow a slope of 1 over 1. Those two lines are parallel. Moving on to the next one, we are asked line SL is parallel to QN. So we need to parallel again. Line QN is represented by the equation negative 1/2 x minus 25 over 2. And so we do see it passes through the point negative 2, negative 18, which is down here, point S. We need to determine the equation of that line in slope-intercept form. We need two things. We need a point, and we need a slope. Let's start with the slope. The line we are trying to construct is parallel to the line that we were given. The line that we were given has a slope of negative 1 over 2. And the line that we are trying to create passes through the point negative 2, negative 18. Don't get lost in the words of this problem. It's just exactly what we've been doing. Recognizing that if we have lines that are parallel, the slopes are going to be exactly the same. And if we have slopes that are perpendicular, they would be the opposite reciprocal. So we've got y minus y1, in this case is negative 18, is equal to negative 1/2 times x minus x1, which is negative 2. We've got to clean up our signs here. We get y plus 18 is equal to negative 1/2 x. Negative 1/2 times 2 is going to be negative 2 over 2, which is the same as negative 1. I'm not going to simplify it, I'm just going to leave it like it is. Actually, I am going to simplify it because that will make my life easier. So y plus 18 is equal to negative 1/2 x minus 1. Now when I subtract 18 from both sides, it will make that math a little bit easier. So y is equal to negative 1/2 x minus 19. So our y-intercept would be negative 19 down here. And we would have to go to the left, so up 1 and to the left 2. Look, we hit point S. Up 1 and to the left 2 from there forever. We would have this line, which is parallel to this line. Pretty straightforward. Point slope form like we've been using. We need to use the information that we're given in terms of if it's parallel or perpendicular and what point it passes through. And then the math sort of just takes care of itself, especially if we're using a calculator to do some of the computation. The biggest thing is be careful with positive and negative signs. Do not make silly mistakes because of just simply not paying attention. And be looking for the word parallel or perpendicular. So line FV is represented by the equation y equals negative x plus 2. So that is a slope of negative 1 over 1. LS is perpendicular to FV, so this time we do not want the same slope, we want the opposite reciprocal. And it passes through the point 512. So similar to our previous work, we need a point, which is going to be 512. And we need a slope, which in this case is not going to be negative 1 over 1, it's going to be positive 1 over 1. Because we need the opposite of negative is positive, we need the reciprocal, 1 over 1 is still 1 over 1. So y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Here's x1, here's y1. Y minus 12 is equal to 1 over 1 times x minus 5. So y minus 12 is equal to 1 over 1x. 1 times 5 is 5. Negative 5 in this case. We would add 12 to both sides. And we would get y is equal to 1 over 1x plus 7. So if we came up to 7 on the y-axis and we graphed 1 over 1, we can see we would run into point L. I'm just going to carefully continue down this way with my line. That line would end up perpendicular to our original line because the slopes are opposite reciprocals. And as we discussed in the previous lesson, I could grab this line and move it anywhere up and down the y-axis. I could have any y-intercept I want. And the slope would mean that no matter where I put it, it would be perpendicular to the line that I was given. SW is perpendicular, so again, paying attention to the words here, we have perpendicular to FG. FG is represented by that equation right there. SW passes through the point negative 6, 17. So what we're going to have is we need a point and a slope. The point is going to be negative 6, negative 17. The slope is going to be perpendicular. So here our slope on this one that we are given is negative 1 over 1. Perpendicular again, we've changed the sign, we flip it over. So positive 1 over 1 in this case. Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Y minus negative 17 is equal to 1 over 1 times x minus negative 6. Two negatives are going to make positives. And we're going to have y plus 17 is equal to 1 over 1x plus 6. Get my iPad back. Hopefully in just a moment. There we go. Finishing this off, we are going to subtract 17 from both sides. Y is equal to 1 over 1x plus, I think that's going to be 11. No, negative 11. Negative 11. So if we come down on the y-axis to negative 11, and we were to go up one and to the right one, that would look like that. If we were to go down one and to the left one, that would look like that. Notice we are passing through point S. These two lines would end up being perpendicular. Looks like we've got 6 more to go. I will let my work speak for itself here rather than marching you through each of these, recognizing that again, this time we are asked to do perpendicular. And so perpendicular to the slopes would be opposite reciprocals. So we're given a slope of 1/1 for the original equation. The slope of the equation perpendicular would be -1/1. The rest is just applying point and slope form. For some reason they love the slope of 1/1 and -1/1 in this workspace that I pulled these problems from. We are asked here to do a line that is parallel. That would mean that these two slopes would be identical, like they are. You can see the work for point and slope form is written out there for you. Next, being very careful if it's perpendicular or parallel. This one's going to be parallel, so the slopes would be the same. And then again, the slope and the point slope form converted to slope intercept form is there. Feel free to pause the video or look at the answer key. And then lastly, again, we have one here that is parallel, so again, the slopes are going to be exactly the same. And the work for how to get it through point and slope form to slope intercept form is there for you. Here we've got parallel. Slopes are going to be identical. And last we have parallel again. So the slopes here are identical. That's going to be it for this video. I hope this and the answer key are helpful, and I hope you have an awesome day.